Everybody, welcome back to the Museum of American Finance. We have a very special lunch and learn today with a one-of-a-kind individual, Sidney Mobell. So many of his wonderful objects on display right now, and one of those objects goes back to when we first met you, Sid, the solid gold and jewel encrusted Monopoly set back in 2010. When it first came, we got so much press, had so much fun with you, and then I went to San Francisco. We had a great time then. You've been a good friend of the museums, and you're the lead sponsor of our gold exhibit. So welcome. We're going to talk with you about your life, but first we want to show you a little video. They bring back some memories.
Sounds great.
San Francisco is the city for something out of the ordinary, because only here can you snap up a solid gold mousetrap beaded with diamonds for a price that's something to squeak about. San Francisco is the home base of way-out designer Sidney Mobell, whose money-no-object creations include this celebrated gold and diamond pacifier. Baby, such a deal. His Art Deco gumball machine is studded with 150 gems, but still takes a humble penny to pop a top dollar bubble. His backgammon set in platinum gold and sprinkled with 256 diamonds is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, guaranteed to shut out your bank balance. For the millionaire who plays for keeps, a gold and silver chess set studded with 1,100 diamonds, 1,000 rubies, 450 sapphires, and 59 emeralds. Checkmate. Now designer Mobell is sitting pretty with his finest indulgence yet, a golden throne studded with 350 precious gems.
Well, it took me a year to make, and we had to cast the basic seat out of brass, and then we 24-karat gold plated it and went ahead and made the beautiful crown. The top of the crown has a beautiful large amethyst. Then we go down and find some beautiful rubies and sapphires, star rubies, more amethyst, turquoise, moonstone, and cultured pearls. And I feel with what we have here, there's only one of a kind. There'll never be another one made unless I make it. And I put the price tag of this at $250,000.
Leave it to us to close the lid on the ultimate royal flush.
That tease is from a show many of you remember, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
It's World Toilet Day. For the United Nations, yes, to bring attention to sanitation all over the world. They have a gigantic
very timely.
Yes, I just had to bring that up.
That's funny. A very popular show some decades ago, and Sid was featured on it. And just yesterday, speaking of television, Sidney, you were on with our own Christina Aguilera on Fox's morning show here in New York. Most popular show, Greg Kelly, Rosanna Scotto, and before he was Christy Brinkley, and after he was Mary Higgins Clark, right? Yeah. And how was that yesterday? Did you have fun?
They really did fit them in, Christy Brinkley, which was very nice.
We're going to talk about a lot of the objects in a few minutes, but I want to just take you back a little bit and talk a little bit, because you've had a very interesting and varied life. And, I know a bit about you. Obviously, we spent some time with you, but a little bit of a tougher question first, because your upbringing was not your average upbringing, and you grew up a bit in Denver, and you were in an orphanage for a bit. And I was wondering if you could just share some of that about your early years with us.
Right.
Any thoughts about those early? How did it influence you?
Well, when I was 10 years old, my mother had to go for a serious operation. When she was a baby, she fell out of a crib in Poland, and she broke her hip. And they didn't have any doctors. It was a little farm community, and her hip grew in crooked, and she had to almost drag her foot every time she was walking. Very painful. And anyway, the doctor said, if you get yourself to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, they'll do the operation. You don't have to worry about paying for it at that time. And I think the operation was like $371 at that time. Amazing. And that was a lot of money. And anyway, when I was 14 years old, my mother was rehabilitated. My brother, my sister, and myself were taken out of the orphanage. And that's when I started working after schools. My mother had a friend that had her son had a jewelry store in Denver, Colorado, and my mother talked her into having him hire me. She says, tell him not to even pay him. Now, can you imagine today if I told my son, go out and look for a job, don't worry about getting paid, I want you to learn something. That'd go over like a lead balloon. Anyway, so I started working after schools in this jewelry store in Denver, and kept my eyes open, whatever, driving everyone crazy, asking them questions, like I still do today. And from there, I went to work for a jewelry company in North Bergen, New Jersey, selling watch bands. And
Well, you're a little ahead of yourself.
I'm ahead of myself.
I'm going to thank you first for your military service during World War II.
I forgot about
in the
that.
Navy. And then before you got to North Bergen, I want you to tell us some of the stories. You were on the road for 16 years. What, a traveling salesman, what parts of the country did you cover? Tell us something about that.
All right. I was working for this company. The company's name was the Jacques Chrysler Manufacturing Company. They manufactured watch bands, men's jewelry, and leather straps, ladies' jewelry. And I went to work for them. I had Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, a little of Missouri, a little of Illinois. I left home in January and I got home the end of May, practically living out of my car. So those years were kind of rough years. I hit snowstorms, I hit heat. You put on a clean shirt, and within about a half hour, the shirt was wet in some of those areas, like Missouri. And but anyway, it was a hard thing. I didn't know any better, and I just was out there selling. And I was with this company for 16 years. And I ended up going back to New Jersey as sales manager, vice president of the company. The fellow that owned the company called me one time, and when I was in Reno, Nevada, he said, "Sidney, I want you to sell your house." At that time, I bought a house, and I'm married, and so forth. And so sold the house, everything, went to New Jersey, and within 9 months, I was called into his office, and he said, "Sidney, I'm going to have to let you go." He said, "You were the best salesman I ever had, but you weren't cut out for management." Well, the management was, he had a girlfriend on the side. He was married, has kids, grandkids, but he had something going, and that was a bad situation. When she heard him tell me on the telephone, "Between you and my son Eddie, you'll end up owning the company," that was the downfall of me, because within 9 months I was out of a job. My wife and I, we got a nurse to watch our daughter, who was 2 years old at that time. We flew to San Francisco, rented a car, drove around looking for a house with no job, and we ended up buying a house in a place called Hillsborough, California. That's where Bing Crosby lived, Patty Hearst, all the wealthy people lived there. Why I bought that house without a job, I have no idea. Maybe it was part of my Polish heritage.